Hi, I'm the chef and owner of Wicked Carib Restaurant in Scarborough. We've been serving the community at large in Scarborough for many years and across the GTA. And I know for sure you've enjoyed our meals at some of your favorite sporting events in the city, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, soccer, or baseball. Right now, we're taking it up a notch when it comes to giving back to the community. We're so excited to say that we've partnered up with Penny Appeal Canada to feed the world while we're feeding you. With every purchase of our top-selling curry chicken meal, proceeds from each meal will generously go to orphans around the world. So grab your favorite curry chicken meal here in Scarborough or
right here at every game.
Your small change always makes a big difference.
Ulitupatia maji mingi aje?
Last year, with you, more than 400 wells alone have been dug by Penny Appeal Canada. 2,400 households benefit directly from our solar water plants. More than 900,000 children now have access to clean, nourishing, life-sustaining water.
يا ترجع تبعتوا لنا أكل مثل هالمرة؟
With your help, we distributed over 14,000 kilograms of food. That's a total of 40,000 meals across 2 continents in 5 affected areas. Ramadan last year, from you, orphans received a lot. From new clothes to new books, to love, to a sense of meaning and purpose, and most importantly, a sense of belonging. This Ramadan, Penny Appeal Canada will serve again with impact,
रुके आप वापस आएंगे?
with love, with hope. Because at Penny Appeal Canada, we believe with you, we can.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining in with us on our Ramadan in the Caribbean segment here with Penny Appeal Canada. I'm your host, Mark Strong, and we're so delighted and honored today to have yet another Sheikh, another person of knowledge, another Imam that has an incredible impact, not only here in the city of Toronto or Scarborough, but also across Canada and across the world. His world of knowledge and all that he brings to the Ummah is something that has been very special to me and many others, and we'll find out his connection to the Caribbean as well too in this Caribbean Ramadan Caribbean segment. Please welcome one and only Musleh Khan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for that generous intro, mashallah.
No, listen, that was the least I can do for the amount that you do for the Ummah and for things online and things individual and from khutbahs to lectures. We'll get into all of that. But today it's all about the Caribbean connection. So let's find out a little bit about your personal background and sort of share your journey to Islam. And I guess what inspired you to pursue Islam? Were you born into the religion? Were you a revert? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So for everyone out there, my background is West Indian, Guyanese. I am not born in Guyana. I'm actually born, it really shocks people when I tell them this, but I was born in Saudi. I am as you know, Islamic as they come because I was born in the city of Medina as well.
SubhanAllah.
So yeah, my father was a teacher. He was a student at the University of Medina years ago. So I was born there, but my background is West Indian. I don't know anything else aside being a West Indian and a Canadian. And my journey to Islam, alhamdulillah, you know, born in a good practicing Muslim family. I have 6 other siblings as well. So we are a total of 9. And yeah, I've been kind of here in Canada, in Toronto, for the majority of my life, I believe, since I was about 7 years old.
Okay. And how has your Guyanese heritage influenced your understanding and practice of Islam?
I be honest with you, Mark, it really was not a focal point for my Islamic upbringing.
Mhm.
I've been fortunate enough to have parents who were very practicing. My father, like I said, studied the religion, raised all of us to be Muslims, practicing Muslims, and at least know the basics of the religion.
Mhm.
My journey to this religion really wasn't connected to the culture or the background, but that definitely helped along the way. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about how, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk a bit about, I mean, everybody who follows is a Muslim and they have different backgrounds and different uh, um, cultures and customs. We celebrate different. We may express different. Tell us a little bit about what Ramadan is like with you growing up in a Guyanese household under the Islamic umbrella.
So this perfect question, follow up from what we've been chatting about is that, you know, Alhamdulillah, for whatever reason, there are so many masajid here in Toronto
Mm.
that are of West Indian Caribbean background.
Mhm.
Like every corner of every part of the city, you can find somebody from your background.
Yep.
Either they are a majority of that community, they are founders of that community,
Mhm.
they're the ones, imams and board members all running things in that community. So that was really different. If we were to really say or pinpoint something about the background and the Caribbean heritage that impacted my upbringing in Islam, it was just accessibility. It was just
Mm.
being able to pretty much go in every single community and always finding West Indians and
Mhm.
Guyanese there. So whether they're an official member of the community or they're just popping in and out, it was amazing. And I think it happens more now than as I was growing up.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what would you say are some of the cultural practices, for example, that blend in with Islamic teachings? So let's stay a little bit more with Ramadan as we are now in the blessed month of Ramadan and we're fasting. What would you say would growing up was your Guyanese suhoor or Guyanese iftar or something that you can sort of relate to say, my family, my culture, this is what we sort of knew to break and start fast.
Well, yeah, we definitely have the Guyanese cuisines.
Yes.
We're pretty big on the whole porridge, and then the leftovers of iftar is usually what you're gonna have in the suhoor.
Yep.
So when it comes to the cuisine, 100% that has always been there. Now that I've gotten married and moved on, that Guyanese cuisine is still there. Like my wife is originally from Ecuador, but
Oh.
she is a West Indian cook like anyone else, subhanAllah, right? So I still get to have that. I'm accustomed to it.
Mm.
I guess I speak for a lot of us out there when I say, when it comes to food and what we're going to eat, especially in Ramadan, I'm not picky, man. I will
Okay.
have anything and everything, inshallah. And then the second thing about the culture itself and the impact, especially in the whole Ramadan experience, is it's so nice to just be around, even though I'm okay with being around anybody in Ramadan, but
Mhm.
just the fact to be able to go to any masjid and
Mhm.
be, and you can literally choose from so many of your own West Indian background masajid. It just makes the whole experience a little more comfortable. It's nicer. It's nice to be around people you're comfortable with, and everybody enjoys what you enjoy. It makes the whole experience that much more pleasant, nice, comfortable. All of the little things that we enjoy when we're around people of our culture, people of our background. Yeah, it's no different, and it's just great to have so many of that all throughout Ramadan.
So once again, we're speaking to Musleh Khan. If you're just joining in right now, it's all about Ramadan Caribbean style, if you will. But I also want to speak on, as you're talking about being amongst those in the Ummah and those that may be at different masajids and having different traditional similarities, but and some differences. There is obviously a clear difference when it comes to interfaith uh, connection. So interfaith and community relations is huge. And I know that's something that you engage in very much so in different lines of work that you do, because you also wear different kufiyas, if you will, as opposed to different hats. So as an interfaith and community relations, what role do you think that interfaith dialogue actually plays in promoting harmony within the Caribbean community, and how it's also contributed to how the Caribbean community has also contributed to interfaith relations.
You know, Mark, the Caribbean community is alive and present when it comes to interfaith dialogue, interfaith da'wah. When it comes to just reaching out to the broader community, it seems as though every year this continues to manifest more and more. And you're hearing more about Islamic Awareness Week programs that are happening all throughout Caribbean, all throughout the Caribbean, all throughout the West Indies, especially even where my parents are from in Guyana. So it's really important. It's great. It's refreshing. It's, you know, alhamdulillah, it is here. And people have, I'm not going to say started, they have already started. People are increasing in their engagement towards the interfaith community. Like, you're just hearing and seeing more of that. So it's really like, it's really important, but very grateful for at least easily the past maybe 10 to 15 years to really see this manifest in a way. Now you have TV programs, you have social media programs, you have everything that's being streamed, you have topics and subjects that are geared to the interfaith community, addressing all of the misconceptions and misunderstanding about the deen. So much of this is happening. It's really great for our diversity. It's really great for our outreach, and I'm just very grateful to play a small part of that role and to participate in that effort. Alhamdulillah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
How do you help address and challenge or the challenges that are faced by our young Muslim brothers and sisters that are dealing with the cultural conflicts or contradictions within the society we live in? I know that you are also very in tune and connected to the youth. You are someone, I will say this happens for every Caribbean man and woman, I'm sure. We age very well, so we never know how young or old we are. So you seem like one of the youth them. And you seem to connect very well with them as well too. How do you help address the challenges of like identity crisis and exposure to this globalization?
Well, I'm glad you, again, very generous of you, Mark. You know, I use a nice henna, and but my bones
right here.
Yeah, my bones definitely aren't anything close to being youth, but alhamdulillah. You know, listen, you know, Mark, honestly, this question is really difficult to understand, to respond to for a number of reasons. And I'll mention to you a few things. Yeah, I'm engaged as much as I can be with the youth. And I have found that over the last maybe 20 to 22 or 23 years, I have found that just being Muslim is your greatest voice. It is your greatest tactic to use to really help these young people, you know, interact and get comfortable in their own skin, in their own culture. Just be Muslim, right? It's one thing when you are Muslim, but you are the Guyanese Muslim, the Trinidadian, the West Indian Muslim. And so one of the things I try to do is I try to tell young people not to do that. Your culture is your culture. That's not going anywhere.
Right.
But just remember, the message of the Quran is very simple. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. So whoever calls towards this religion and does so also with doing righteousness, and they also affirm their identity. What's their identity? وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. We say that we're not this background or that background or this heritage or that. We just say we're Muslim. That's really being the strongest message. And, you know, it shocks some of them. And it kind of shocks me that the fact that it shocks some of them to hear that really that simple, just be Muslim. Yes, really, just be Muslim. And you will find that easily you will start to see the fruits of that kind of approach. When you just be Muslim, you will see that how Allah will integrate you, whatever your background is, and you become like a Muslim that is universal. You can blend into any community, any background. You can communicate with anybody. You know, Mark, I don't have formal training in communications and teaching and public speaking. I have never taken a course in any of this. I've never trained formally in any of this. It was just me trying to be Muslim and just having a genuine heart and sincerity to want to serve the community. And it's worked well for me, and that's kind of the message that I propagate to young people. And any identity crisis, just first of all, just really try to develop a sense of simplicity. You are Muslim first and foremost before you are anything else, and kind of take it from there.
SubhanAllah. It's interesting. Well, I don't know if it's interesting, but you're very to know that your oratorical skill and your character and your captivating way of speaking and putting sentences and senses together without formal training, SubhanAllah, is amazing. So we do, again, I have to say, we do appreciate all that you bring to the Ummah and bring to the smaller communities, to the larger communities, and beyond. We'll move into also, since we were talking about identity crisis, this may be a very similar question, but it has a bit of a nuance to it. Can you speak a little bit on the youth and adults who will face mental health issues as well, that may also play off of their cultural identities? So, for example, there's a lot of young adults, or reverts for that matter, who find that within their family, they're either not accepted or it's hard to sort of navigate. And they find themselves now either going through either a questioning of themselves, a doubting, maybe even a depression. How do you find, or what examples and what tools and resources would you give them to center themselves Islamically so that they can deal with that mental pressure?
It is as real as it gets. Like, mental health is a real thing. And the reason why I phrase it that way is, unfortunately, but alhamdulillah, at the same time, the message is getting out there. More and more programs, more and more social groups, organizations that are really focusing on mental health are more prevalent now than they've ever been before. But when it comes to actually focusing on these issues, there are two things that I really want everyone out there, especially the Muslims, to keep in mind. Is that, number one, that not all imams are qualified to deal with mental health issues. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that the vast majority of imams don't have this qualification. So that leads me to the second point. As a person journeys through whatever mental health struggle they have, and they are also looking for the Islamic approach and healing towards that they should have that balance, that on the one hand, you have access to an imam, to a sheikh, to a Islamic counselor, to somebody who has the background of Islamic studies in dealing with mental health, but at the same time, that you're out there, you're talking to a professional, a doctor, a psychiatrist, whatever the case is, right? But you're going to somebody who's qualified and who has studied this and studied it well, that you also have that balance. Because again, it's a real thing, it's a real struggle. And I don't want to say unfortunately, I mean, I think that this is all part of the message of the Quran, and I think that it's also definitely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that maybe the Quran and Islam won't heal everybody's issue, because why? There is a human side to us that sometimes maybe we don't open up the Quran, but we open up a conversation and just unload and talk things out. Right, and that alone is an enormous method of healing for a lot of people. So once people find that balance and understand that they got to find the right people, the most qualified and the professionals, and have a little bit of both, inshallah, you'll be okay. Inshallah, no matter what the pressures are out there and the problems that people are coping with to deal with mental health, inshallah, they'll be okay.
Inshallah. Once again, we're speaking to Musleh Khan here live. It looks like from either Barry, or I'm not too sure what's going on in the background. I'll let you know, but alhamdulillah, he's here to be part of our segment here this afternoon during the month of Ramadan. Appreciate it, subhanAllah. Let's talk a little bit more, once again, focus Ramadan wise. I know that you're someone who has done a lot of travel as well, and you've been able to sort of mix and mingle within different ummahs, different cultures, and traditions within the communities of Islam. Would you say that there is any vast difference or similarity when you have spent it in different countries? Like if you had an opportunity to spend a week of Ramadan in, let's say, Guyana or in Saudi or in Toronto, do you find that not only is there a thread that connects us, which obviously is we're fasting for one ummah or one purpose, but also are there any nuanced differences that you can sort of elaborate on?
Yeah, there's a foundation, if you want to call it that, where we're all in the month of Ramadan and we're all focused on the same things. But the experience is, yeah, there definitely are nuances from one culture to another.
Mhm.
So, I probably don't want to mention the countries, but alhamdulillah, I've gone to quite a bit of countries, including all throughout the Caribbean and the West Indies, where I've been able to taste a little bit of the Ramadan experience in most of these places.
Mhm.
And it really boils down to dedication. It really boils down to the seriousness and the approach of maximizing the time. Some cultures were very adamant and very serious about it. Like
Mhm.
everything from suhoor to the next suhoor was all about taking advantage of your time in the month of Ramadan.
Mhm.
Where some was not so adamant, not so dedicated. The seriousness was still there, but
Mhm.
people were still kind of just chilling out and just sort of
Yeah.
relaxing and kicking back during the day. And then,
Mhm.
things would come to life in the evening. So you kind of got a little bit of both of that. And there were also some, and I think, for me, where I come from, in the West Indian branch, we have a nice balance of that where
Mhm.
people do spend time with family, they do rest, they do, enjoy themselves for the most part. Most of their schedules are predominantly the same. And
Mhm.
then at the same time, when it comes time to get to the masjid and to do the iftar and tarawih and the sadaqah and the fundraising and they're focused. Like they just turn on another spiritual switch somewhere and they focus on those things as well. So you definitely get a little bit of everything out there. And
Mhm.
one part that you mentioned is that when it comes to some of the struggles and the issues and so on that we navigate through in the month of Ramadan, I've said this before that the ummah's problems in general are all the same. Like
Mhm.
the issues of the youth here are not going to be any different anywhere else you go when it comes to the identity crisis, when it comes to the pressures and social pressures, and all of that to some extent are all present in every community pretty much throughout the ummah, and they just vary as we're talking about culture, background, heritage, and things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be your vision for the future of Islam in Guyana and steps that we may need to achieve to help support those communities, not only in Guyana, the country itself, but sometimes there's some misrepresentation. Not sometimes, more than often, there's misrepresentation of whether it be support or funds or attention or highlights within the Caribbean communities here in Canada, North America, but in particular how would you say what would be your vision, you think, for a better future Islamically for those cultures?
You know, for what it's worth, I mean, um the thing that I think about a lot, and I hope inshallah that I could continue to participate and be part of that vision, is just for the Caribbean and the West Indian community as a whole to really break out of their shell,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And not to be afraid and not to be hesitant in any way to project a universal image of Islam.
mm,
It doesn't always have to be the West Indian style of da'wah, the Caribbean style of da'wah, the Guyanese or the Canadian. It doesn't have to be that. Like the more you engross yourself into this religion, the more you realize just how universal its message truly is.
mhm,
And that no matter what, the language of your tongue is, the background, your skin color, your culture, all of that becomes secondary because you can certainly participate and be in any platform where you're projecting this message, no matter where you go and where you travel in the world. So I can see elements of that over the years, especially in the last 20 years or so in, my own West Indian community, breaking out of that shell. So as
mm,
long as we continue to do that, and especially it's the younger generation that does this more, where their vision is way beyond. They see things differently. They're smart in their own way. They're not afraid. Whereas the older generation may have had a certain way and a certain approach to doing things, and they were very comfortable in that. And so they continue for the most part to just stay in that one lane. So when it comes to vision, I just hope that we can continue to just not be afraid and just to really put our voice of Islam wherever we can, regardless, anywhere in the world. Insha'Allah ta'ala.
You know why you're one of the best examples of that happy medium? You're a best example on that happy medium, because I don't know if you're the old school or the new school. You're right there bridging that gap, alhamdulillah. And I think that it's more spirit and more consciousness and more patience and more care, and everything that you present is that middle ground. I think all of us would love to try and
yeah, it's tricky, but I'll tell you something, right? Nobody knows that I have a West Indian background unless they can just hear it or see it or figure it out. Like
Right.
they don't hear that from my voice that I say, I'm from this background.
Right.
And I don't know, Mark, honestly, if that's intentional or what. I think that as part of my academic training, and the background and my upbringing, where we were from, it never played like a major role in sort of defining who we are today. And I've always had that mindset that I want to speak to every community. I want to be and integrate with every community anywhere I go. And I even try to, put in my message as well, that to try to keep it as universal as possible. So you could be in a masjid, right? And you hear the announcements of the masjid being done in their sort of dominant language.
Right.
And now myself, my message would sort of be in a scenario like that, look, the majority of your people may speak English. Try to make it in English, because if you cater to just a few and not the majority, it doesn't send an appropriate message, right? So I've kind of taken that same approach in everything I do, is that wherever I go, if I'm talking to kids, I want to be able to talk to children. If I'm talking to youth, I want to be able to speak their language. When I'm talking to the elders, I want to be able to speak at their level as well. And that approach really kind of took me out of one label or one background or one sort of brand that people look at me as. And I think, at the bottom line, at the end of the day, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ, like that is from the virtues and blessings of Allah that He gives to whomever He wants. So if that's what people see and that's what people can recognize, that I have some balance there, alhamdulillah, that is not for me. That is truly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah. So you're like a Muslim chameleon. So it's like Musleh chameleon. Musleh chameleon. I might start calling you Musleh chameleon. Anyway, Musleh Khan, we thank you very much for being part of our Ramadan in the Caribbean segment here with Canada. You're a dear brother to us, and continue in your path, and enjoy your Ramadan, enjoy your fast, enjoy your iftar wherever you're having it today. And I hope to see you soon, brother, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you for having me, Mark. Always a pleasure. Jazakallah khair. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Ulitupatia maji mingi aje.
Last year, with you, more than 400 wells alone have been dug by Penny Appeal Canada. 2,400 households benefit directly from our solar water plants. More than 900,000 children now have access to clean, nourishing, life-sustaining water.
يا ترجع تبعتوا لنا أكل مثل هالمرة.
With your help, we distributed over 14,000 kilograms of food. That's a total of 40,000 meals across 2 continents in 5 affected areas. Ramadan last year, from you, orphans received a lot. From new clothes to new books, to love, to a sense of meaning and purpose, and most importantly, a sense of belonging. This Ramadan, Penny Appeal Canada will serve again with impact,
रुके आप वापस आएंगे?
with love, with hope. Because at Penny Appeal Canada, we believe with you, we can.
Hi, I'm the chef and owner of Wicked Carib Restaurant in Scarborough. We've been serving the community at large in Scarborough for many years and across the GTA. And I know for sure you've enjoyed our meals at some of your favorite sporting events in the city, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, soccer, or baseball. Right now, we're taking it up a notch when it comes to giving back to the community. We're so excited to say that we've partnered up with Penny Appeal Canada to feed the world while we're feeding you. With every purchase of our top-selling curry chicken meal, proceeds from each meal will generously go to orphans around the world. So grab your favorite curry chicken meal here in Scarborough or
right here at every game.
Your small change always makes a big difference.